We are live. So happy to welcome Toby today, one of my first students, where I really started out first teaching the Spanish language. Not at all officially, but yeah, I don't want to talk so much about myself, about what I do. Today it's all about Tobias, about what he achieved, about what was the reason he worked with us, why he said, "Yeah, I really want to learn Spanish with you, not with others." And of course, what I would love to hear first of all, where are you coming from? What made you learn Spanish in the first place, Toby?
Yeah, happy to be here. Always great to talk to you. Um, I
Likewise.
mean, how it all came together with us. Like we know each other since a couple of years now, but like we've not been in contact closely for some years. But I always like saw your social media. Okay, he moved to Panama, and he's like teaching German to Spanish-speaking people now. And then for me came the time for me going to Mexico for an exchange, and then for some traveling afterwards. So for more than 6 months. And I heard there's not many people speaking English in Mexico or Latin America in general, so might make sense to learn Spanish. And then I thought, well, if he or if you are teaching German to Spanish-speaking people, why can't you just teach Spanish to German-speaking people? So yeah, I just reached out to you, and you were very flexible in that regard. So thanks for that. And so we had some months of learning Spanish together, or you teaching me Spanish rather.
Yeah, indeed, Toby. Yeah, it was really fun. I mean, we get along quite well, even though we're not as close as we used to be when I left to Germany. As we went to some nice festivals, a nice party, right, in Bavaria, and but it's still I really appreciate the old friends who you really can rely on or that reach out to you, and that's what I'm really a big fan of, because first of all, you did not need to reach out to me, but then catching up was quite nice. Yeah, I would say, and it was really fun. It was really fun, and of course, I was that flexible. I was confident that I give you results, but without talking about the results on their own, like what did you felt like was maybe a differentiation from my way of teaching it? Because of course my way of teaching it is similar to how I teach German to Spanish or English speaking people. What do you think, if you can compare it, if you had any course or just about regular courses from the university or somewhere else, what do you think is the main difference?
Mhm. So for me, I did have some Spanish in university, but only like one semester. So I basically could talk like, "Hi, I'm Toby. I'm 28 years old," and like super basic things, but not really having a conversation or something like that. So that's kind of the only thing I can compare it to. But so I was basically starting at almost zero, and then what I definitely realized that with you is was like pretty like casual way of learning. It wasn't stiff at all. There was no. It was very like personalized for me and where I'm at, and also where I want to go. Because for me personally, I didn't need to learn, I don't know, business Spanish or something like that at that point. It was like just like surviving as a traveler in Latin America, and that was kind of what the Spanish teaching was like geared towards too. Um, so yeah, like it always felt super casual. It's never like, oh, I'm super nervous before the lesson. It's like, yeah, always chill. I made super quick progress, which was, I think, a combination of you kind of adapting to my learning style and also where I'm at, and also for me being surrounded like in a Spanish speaking environment. I think that made a huge difference because I could like take the lessons you told me or you teach me in the in the lessons and kind of move into the world and directly apply it every day. I think that's the best context to kind of learning. Yeah, and I was actually pretty astonished, like how quickly I made progress because, like, after only like I don't know 4 to 5 weeks, I was able to have like basic conversations with like random people, native Spanish-speaking Mexicans. So yeah, I mean, it was great experience.
Amazing, amazing. Thanks for that. Yeah, and of course for your effort as well, because like I know you probably could get fast results, but even I was just like really surprised and astounded like on how fast you could like literally learn and stick to that. And of course, the main idea is always to create a safe environment and environment where you speak every day, right? Where you feel safe, you can be lighthearted, have fun, because we know that all like if you feel like like my my stomach is like pushing against against my body because I'm so nervous or stressed. It's not our best state mentally, where we really can perform at our best, right? So it's like I think one of the things that probably are like or one of the biggest differences that made you like literally have a nice experience. Yeah, have fun. Of course, you needed to put in some effort too. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. That magically you will speak Spanish now. That's not how it works, of course. But if you have fun, if you take it like as a challenge, I think what you pretty good did. Yeah, and came from the right mental spot. Yeah, the right mentality. To, I just want to get better. Yeah, every day, every week, and you did. You did. It was amazing to see how good of a Spanish speaker you were. And I hope still are. Of course, you probably are a little bit rusty now, but maybe we can speak a little bit more in Spanish if it's okay for you.
Sí,
¿Está bien?
podemos hablar un poco en español,
Ah,
no problema.
pues está bueno, está
Pero
excelente.
solo un poco, por favor.
Claro, no te preocupes. Pero pues es lo bueno que ya estás en Alemania hace cuánto tiempo de nuevo, porque has estado en México hace mucho, ¿no?
Otra vez.
Has estado en México hace mucho tiempo, ¿cierto? Hace mucho
See, if
tiempo
I
que estuviste.
like for me, the sound of the laptop is not amazing, but it's like
Ah,
how long I've been staying in Mexico, or
exactly, exactly.
sí, estaba en México para seis meses, no solo en México, pero México 4 meses y después Cuba y Guatemala y Colombia, y los países tienen diferentes españoles diferentes un poco, sí, entonces
Sí.
es un poco más difícil para aprender para mí, pero sí, estaba bien, estaba funcionando, más o
Chévere.
menos.
Claro, es normal, eso demora años. That needs sometimes years. I mean, I speak Spanish now over 8 years, and I'm having an easy time with all the nationalities. Um, pero es lo mismo con Alemania, Austria, Suiza, la gente habla diferente. De Bavaria, Berlín, el mundo, son diferentes mundos.
Sí, Bavaria es más difícil, creo.
Sí, es así, es como ves los extranjeros llegando a Bavaria o Berlín, cuando tú estás en Berlín y la gente habla mucho acento, también es difícil. Ich will dich nicht machen, ja. For example, for instance, right? So, of course, I mean, when I asked before, I know your Spanish is a little bit rusty as well. That's completely known. But you're in Germany now, back I think in a year maybe or more, without speaking frequent Spanish. Yeah.
Yeah, basically since over a year now, a year like 15 months. So it's like 15 months of not being surrounded by Spanish. Like I try to use Spanish here and there, but there's not so many Spanish speaking people or only Spanish speaking people in Germany, unfortunately. Um, like yeah, also kind of trying to keep up with my Duolingo, but I feel it's not really something that helps me improve a lot. It just like helps me keep in touch with the language. So
Yeah.
also definitely thinking about going back to taking some lessons with you.
Yeah, why not? Why not? And maybe I can connect you with some Latinos I know and who are living in Munich. Yeah, I know plenty actually. So that could be a good idea too. Yeah. Pero a pesar, pero a pesar de todo, hablas todavía muy bien. 15 meses es mucho tiempo. 15 months is a lot of
Gracias.
time, like not speaking. ¿Ah? Y claro, es normal que disminuye, lowers, disminuye el nivel un poquito.
Sí.
Me ha pasado igual, luego de Costa Rica, after Costa Rica, luego de Costa Rica, pues mi nivel no ha sido ni parecido como hoy en día lo es, ¿no?
Sí, sí.
Y
Y
sí,
también nosotros solo estábamos aprendiendo, yo solo estaba aprendiendo contigo para 2 meses, yo creo. Solo dos
sí,
meses. Y
sí.
después, yeah, I could sobrevivir
Sí,
para
podía
los
ser.
demás meses.
Sí,
Ya
o
sí,
sea, no estudiamos mucho tampoco, ¿eh? No
sí, sí.
estudiamos, pero para el poco tiempo, pues aprendiste bastante esto. O sea, estaba súper sorprendido porque estoy seguro, si hubiéramos trabajado como 4 meses, pues probablemente se hubiera quedado más tiempo, más en la memoria. Pero a pesar de todo, si me entiendes y puedes comunicarte, puedes defender. Hubiera- y hace un año no hemos hecho el testimonio porque no he enseñado español oficialmente. Pero igual
Ujú.
es chévere y es bonito ver ah, cuánto pudiese retener todavía, how much you could retain still besides only studying 2 months together and now being like 15 months over a year, now almost 1.5 years out and not speaking it frequently. So for that, I think a big props
Yeah.
on your Spanish, you know,
I'm
like,
surprised myself. Really, if you think about it, I mean, learning for 2 months and then like 15 months later, and like I'm now at maybe like 70 or 80% of what I've been like a year ago.
yeah,
But if someone like really sticks to this for maybe 1 year,
yeah,
like really sticking to it because they also need it for work or whatever, I think they
yeah,
can get really fluent. So it might
yes,
take like
indeed,
some more work to be like accent free, but like you can get really fluent, I think, in very quick time. So
indeed,
it's a great
indeed.
investment.
Glad to hear that, Toby. What would you say like was the first big game changer for you once you felt like you finally were able to communicate properly in Spanish?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's as soon as I think it's the same with probably all languages, but as soon as you're on a basic level, so you can have very basic conversations, from there on, it ramps up quite fast because then you can talk to people and you hear new words all the time and you can actually speak, which improves like your language obviously. And before you reach that threshold, like you can't have conversations, you don't understand anything, you can't say anything, and so it's difficult to kind of put something on top to learn on top. So reaching that threshold, I think, is really the first important milestone. And for that, I think it's really important to have like a teacher like you where you can kind of get to that threshold in a safe environment, that kind of a mix of motivation and like just playful learning, but also challenging. um, so I think that's maybe one of the most important steps, the very first step. And from there on, I think it's yeah, I think it's good to kind of stick to keep to talking to you, but also like embrace yourself or expose yourself to an environment that is completely speaking Spanish, or listen to
100%.
Spanish music or things like this, watch Spanish movies, things like this.
100%. So love what you said here. Like the biggest, like you need to feel like that your brain is about to explode so much you should expose yourself with a language because people are like, ah, yeah, like a little bit here and there. No, if you want to have quick results, of course, I mean, even though you said you really enjoyed it and it was playful and everything, you still, if you want quick results, you need to take action. You need to immerse yourself, you know. And I don't know about you, but I mean, you traveled a lot through Latin America. You would have been probably pretty lost without speaking Spanish, right?
Yeah, I mean, no
Like,
chance of like moving around or nothing. Like no one speaking English, which is a good thing
yeah,
for learning Spanish, which is great because otherwise people always answer back in English when they realize you have a tough time in Spanish.
yeah,
So it's a perfect setting really for learning Spanish. And then there's like a whole like even more than one whole continent with an amazing culture that you can only really experience if you talk the language. Right? For most other languages, maybe besides English, you learn the language for one country mostly, and then you have access to the culture of one country. But this one is like it's so many amazing people like talking this language, so many amazing cultures that you get access to with it. So it's so much worth like learning it. And also, I think if you're speaking English, I think as an English speaker, Spanish is not too difficult to learn because there's many words which are quite similar. So you will get progress pretty fast. It's not like learning Mandarin or Russian or Thai or whatever. So I think that can be pretty frustrating. But with Spanish, you'll see progress pretty fast, especially with a teacher, like even faster.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I appreciate it. And what would you say, like, with people hesitating, probably working with me, yes or no, or should they reach out? Like, what would you tell them?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, first, of course, they have to commit themselves, right? You can have the best teacher in the world, and if you actually don't want to put in any work, it's not going to work. It always depends on the student as well, right? And then
Yeah,
find a matching teacher. And I would suggest to definitely reach out, like have a couple of sessions, and then see if it's a fit. There's nothing to lose. And for me, it definitely was a great fit. And yeah, kind of the money and time invested in was had a high ROI, so to say. So yeah, I would definitely suggest to reach out. Absolutely, 100%.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. And with that being said, Toby, like when I remember when I started out Spanish, just telling a little bit from my side as well, and I think how important it is, right, to speak the language. Like we went to Colombia this year, like the second time. This time just a weekend, but before it was like 2 weeks. Yeah, I think 2 weeks it was, and I got to know people. Like people don't realize that many times. We went to Colombia. I was visiting a friend or cousin actually, or a friend of mine, who has a big office in the heart of Bogota, with 100 employees. So there are really epic business connections even that you wouldn't be able to make without speaking the language. People underestimate it so much because they think about Latin America is third world, yada yada. But it's not as bad, not even close as people imagine it. Because here are probably way more entrepreneurs in Latin America in general than we have sometimes. I feel even in Germany because
Yeah,
people here
absolutely.
need to. They want to move forward, and there are so many successful entrepreneurs, business owners, millionaires, whatever, that you really miss out on not only friends, no, on business opportunities if you not speak the language. I would say, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I talked about the cultural aspect of it already, and that was for me like the main motivation. But from a business perspective, I mean, yeah, it's just such a huge cultural space, and Latin America is the kind of emerging market. So it has way stronger growth than, let's say, Europe or the US or something. So it's a growing market.